And welcome back, guys, to the continuation of our two-part episode. Fell out of a truck and busted my hip.
But, well, they used all their ammo, though, right?
No.
Oh, they didn't? Okay.
So the second encounter was a few days later, and they saw over 1,000 birds, and they waited till they got closer. But as soon as they got on top of them, they started shooting them with the machine guns, and then both guns jammed.
Oh, man.
And so they only got 12 birds.
The battle was lost.
Yeah, there's literally just a sea of emus, right?
You would think that you'd be able to just, like, run them down or something, you know?
Yeah, there's a sea of emus, and you only get 12 because then the guns jam. And then they're like, all right, this is what we're going to do. Because the emus are fast, and they're, and so this is the way the emus work. So say there's a group of 1,000. Then what happens is once they get attacked, they'll break off into like groups of 4 or 5 and just scatter everywhere.
Okay.
So it's not just a big master following. You literally have to follow like maybe 10 that are kind of going the same direction.
So it's kind of like you and a bunch of your friends hanging out, and then something happens, and everybody just scatters.
Yeah, pretty much. So it wasn't too easy. And then they mounted a gun on a truck. And they started chasing the birds with the truck. But the truck,
like a Jeep or something?
No, like I don't know what kind of truck. It just all I know is the truck was too slow.
You know though.
So it couldn't keep up with the birds. So they're chasing after it with the guns mounted on the trucks, and then the truck's too slow to keep up with the emus, so the emus take off and they can't catch up with them.
You know though, if somebody gave me an offer and said, "Hey, we're going to pay you in the military to put a gun on a truck and then chase after a bunch of emus," I think I'd sign up for that. That sounds like fun, even if I
well, the truck was too slow, and the truck was too bumpy to actually shoot anything because the gun was bouncing all over the place.
Yeah, when we were a kid, we used to have my grandparents had a place up in the mountains, and they had this old army Jeep. And when I was pretty young, like 13, 12, 13, 14, before I was able to drive, my parents would let us drive this Jeep around. And it was a lot of fun driving in fields, bouncing around and stuff. My brother went off a ledge of something, and I was sitting in the back, and he almost threw me out of it. It was pretty fun. I mean, dangerous, but a lot of fun. So I could see where chasing after emus in a truck with a gun on it would be kind of a fun activity, don't you think?
Yeah. Now, then they had a few more encounters with little success, and at the end of 6 days they used about 2,500 rounds of ammo, and then all the reports were conflicting. Some said 50 birds, some said 200 birds, some said 500 birds.
I mean, that's just full out unloading on a bird, isn't it? Like 25. How much? 25,000.
2,500.
2,500.
They started with 10,000. Now that was just the first 6 days. Then they gave up, and then they came back and did it again, and then
that's less than a 1% hit rate, right?
And then they still didn't do very much, and basically there were so many emus that they killed maybe 500 out of them and didn't even make a dent in the population.
Yeah.
And because there was so much food, they were just making babies like crazy. So guess what actually fixed it?
What
the government issued bounties on emus. So every single time you bought emu in, you got money for it.
Okay.
And so
paid for emus
for in 6 months, the local population fulfilled 50,000 bounties.
Yeah. So
basically they killed 50,000 of them in 6 months.
So there's basically people out there that are probably experts at getting rid of them, and instead we were chasing around them with machine guns, which probably was not the best way of doing it.
Yeah. Well, like you said, it was fun. They were just having fun.
With our government dollars.
They did that I think it said every 6 months, and it was 2 or 3 months in a row. So they killed 150,000 emus in a year and a half.
Yeah, yeah.
And now they don't have the problem with it anymore. But I just thought it was funny. They'd get dudes with mounted machine guns on trucks, and they can't kill anything.
Yeah.
And then they just oh yeah, we'll give you some money if you bring one in dead. And then they do 150,000.
Well, you made an occupation basically for some people, and they were paid by. It was kind of like a paid for commission,
Yeah.
kind of job where you had to do the job right or you didn't make any money.
That's why crowdsourcing's king, right?
Yeah, yeah. I guess this is another example of government waste and how the government sometimes isn't the best solution for a problem that could be done by people who are actually experts in that area.
Yeah. So, like I said, there's a couple other invasive species that we haven't solved the problem of yet.
Well, we have the Asian carp.
The first one was the Asian carp,
in the United States.
Now, I know that you were watching some videos before I even told you about, what we were planning on talking about today.
And they're crazy. I mean, if you ever saw an Asian carp and they start jumping out of the water, and some people go through these sections of water where they're just jumping and they're getting hit by the fish.
Well, people get knocked off their boats because there's I don't know how heavy they are, but there's a fish flying and hit them in the head and knock them off the boat.
I saw a video where a guy just had one of those big nets, like hand nets with the handles, and was catching the fish with this net.
Well, they have electro fishing. Do you know what that is?
That's when you shock the water, right?
Well, they have these two poles with you ever see those head massagers where it's almost like a whisk that's not connected at the bottom?
Okay.
So they put two giant one of those basically in the water, and then it makes an electromagnetic field, and whenever a fish gets hit by it, it gets stunned and floats to the top. So I saw this one video where these guys, you don't see anything in the water, all of a sudden they do it, and a floor of Asian carp just pop up. It looked like you could have just walked to land
across the carp. Wow.
Yeah. And it wasn't that far. It wasn't that big of an area, but it was you couldn't see water anymore. It was just fish.
Yeah.
And so they take these giant nets and they just start scooping. And then all of a sudden all these fish start flopping around and then they swim away.
Yeah.
But they got half their boat full and 45 seconds from them scooping these fish in.
Yeah, I think they're trying to with those fish. They're if I'm right, it's the Mississippi area, but they're worried about them coming all the way up to Ohio and across the country.
And the problem is that they're negatively affecting the fish market. One, because they're destroying natural habitat of the natural species in the United States. They're also hard to sell because they have a lot of pin bones, so restaurants aren't buying them and stuff. So people can catch them, but fishermen that are trying to make a living aren't going to waste their time selling, catching something that they can't sell very well.
Well, that's there's that one chef I was showing you that he was into eating our enemies. Basically you eat the invasive species, and he was showing how to fillet it and cook it. Apparently they want to change the name. I mean, I don't know if you've seen, but a lot of things, if you hear Asian carp, people don't want to eat it. It doesn't sound appetizing. So this guy actually officially changed the name of Asian carp for culinary purposes to be called the silverfish.
Yeah.
So if you ever go to a restaurant and see silverfish on the menu, you're actually eating an Asian carp.
And it tastes good. It's just it's more intensive to fillet it and get all the pin bones out for restaurants.
This guy, he actually did a taste test between tilapia and Asian carp with people, and he called it silverfish, obviously. And the people actually rated the taste of the fish way better than tilapia even.
They've been changing names of certain fish because, the government has restrictions on certain fish. You can only catch so much, so you don't fish out the species.
Yeah, yeah.
And so they started, having to find new species to catch. Now, there's plenty of, good tasting fish out there, but they're either gross looking or gross names. I remember the one, it's called an orange roughy now because that doesn't sound too bad, but it used to be called a slime head. And nobody wants jambalaya with slime head, fish in it.
Yeah, would you like the salmon or would you like the slime head special today?
That's not going to catch on. So they got the name changed to orange roughy, which sounds like a beautiful fish and something that you'd want to eat. You wouldn't want to eat a slime head.
Yeah,
I guess there's others too, but that's just one of the ones that I remember.
Yeah, I definitely won't want to eat a slime head. That would not be a good fish to eat.
But I think that's one thing that we can do. Like, you know how the Great Emu War, they just said, all right, we'll give you money if you bring dead ones in.
Yeah.
You just have to find good ways or, to cook it and sell it to restaurants. And then I think the problem will probably solve itself. Because if it's a good tasting fish, and if if it gains traction, then there'll be demand for it. And from what I understand, there's plenty of them.
Well, I want to go get one. I want to catch one and see what it tastes like. But I don't think we have them do we have them in our area yet? I don't think we do.
I don't know.
I know that they originally think that an Asian brought one over and put it into a river so that he could come back later, or pond or lake or something, so he could come back later and catch them for food, because he remembers it in Asia, eating them in Asia. And that's how this whole problem happened. And I guess that's what happens with some other things. We in our area, we have a fish that's an invasive species. I think it's called the snakefish or snakehead or something like that.
It's not slime head?
No, but this one actually can come out of the water
and
slither like a snake.
And go to different... That's why it's hard to control the population, because if the bodies of water are close enough, it can transfer itself from one body of water to another.
Yeah.
Because they can breathe out of
the water.
Of the water. Not well, like they can't be out there.
But it can make it a few hundred
indefinitely,
yards or something.
Yeah.
And they say if to the fishermen in the area, if you catch one, you're supposed to kill it right away.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to stop it.
No catch and release those puppies.
But I don't think these are as prolific as the Asian carp at multiplying itself. So they're not as much of a problem.
I think that's more of a local problem for us now.
Yeah, that's local.
It's not like half the Mississippi.
Yeah, exactly.
Another invasive species problem that we actually have is the wild boar.
Oh, yeah. We don't have them. Well, we
do have them up here, but the thing is they started in the south, so they've traveled really far.
Yeah.
Now they destroy crops, right? They travel in herds, so they're kind of dangerous to, like, if you get caught on the wrong end of a boar's.
Kind of like the bison.
Yeah, pretty much.
Stay away from the boar.
And they also, like, when they graze, they literally uproot everything. So it's not like they just trim off the top like a deer would. They just tear it up and turn it into a giant mud pit.
They tear up farmland.
They give birth twice a year, I think.
To big litters too. I mean,
it's like
I think they can have up to 12 or something.
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
like and they're really hardy, so a lot of those piglets survive.
Yeah. I know in Pennsylvania where we live right now, if you see a wild boar, you're supposed to. There's no limit or season for them in Pennsylvania, but we don't have them. There's only a couple counties where we have them. One's close to West Virginia, and I think one's close to New York.
They're in Central PA, but they're not, like, because my I have family that lives out there, and they've seen a couple.
Yeah.
But it's just like, it's rare, but that just means it's not going to be rare for very long.
Yeah, I think that in Pennsylvania we'll soon have some new hunting opportunities when it comes to boars.
Now they think that somebody brought them over from Europe and just released them into the wild because they wanted something to hunt. And then it just kind of got out of control.
We're talking about colonial days, right?
No, we're talking about...
Oh, I thought they released them. Like, I thought they were released way back. Like, we've had them for a really long time.
I want to say, like, not like hundreds of years ago.
Okay.
Maybe close to 100, but not like, not a really long time ago. That I know of. I'm not 100% sure on that, but...
We're not experts on any of this.
In the 35 of 50 states that there are feral pigs in the United States, 35 out of 50 states have them, and it's 1.5 billion with a B damages a year in dollars and damages a year.
Yeah.
With like in Texas, they have problems with them. They had to line the highways with fences so that the pigs couldn't get around it. Because you got people in the middle of the night or on foggy days going 60 miles an hour down a road or a highway, and then all of a sudden there's a herd of pigs, and die because it's like hitting a brick wall because you got like 1,000 pigs in front of you and your car just stops after hitting them. So it's like getting into a car crash at 60 miles an hour head on.
I mean, down there's like there's no mercy for the pigs. I mean, those boars, because they really try to get rid of them.
Well, the thing is the urban pigs, the ones that are living like in communities and stuff, are even less afraid of humans. So they're chasing people off of golf courses, and like
I'd like to see some videos
and like chasing
of that.
people away from their picnics and parks and stuff like that to eat their food.
Oh yeah.
And they're dangerous. Like they can cut you up. And the problem is they actually have a lot of diseases and viruses, which they in turn put in water supplies.
Yeah.
And ponds and streams, and they raise the bacteria level in ponds and streams where they're staying.
Oh, okay.
But they'll tear you up, and on top of that, because they have so much bacteria, you get infected, and it's really not that. It's not a good situation.
Yeah.
They make mud pits, like where they're sleeping, like where they're living. They make mud pits, which is okay, I guess, but they're doing it on like sacred burial grounds of like Native Americans there.
Oh, no way. Really?
Yeah, and like sacred tribal sites and monuments and things like that.
So you're saying that the pigs don't care where they do this stuff?
They don't care where they do it. So people just want them gone, basically. Like I've seen people that will give helicopter rides and give them AR-15s and just say, "All right, blast them."
Yeah.
And so you get like a herd of them, and they just shoot as many as they can.
I've seen things like that where they just do drives, and they and they just try to get as many as they can. I also was watching an episode where, like down in Texas, they'll get these huge traps that are like corrals, and they'll catch the pigs, and then the guy has to come in there and he kind of like gets all these wild pigs into the back of a truck and takes them to get butchered, and then they end up selling them. I think
there was like a TV show about that, wasn't there?
Yeah, it was like on a TV show.
I might have seen it here with you, but the other problem is like with them catching it, like pigs are actually really smart.
Yeah,
and so they can't just like it's not like they're stupid. You could just like herd them into like a giant trap or something.
Yeah, like
you actually have to like make a trap where they're not gonna know it's a trap.
Yeah,
like it's not just like you can't just like bait them into a giant have a heart trap and catch them all. Like you actually have to like make it look like there's nothing there, have food there. It's got to wait for a couple of days before the pigs will even go near it, and then you can trap them, but you can only trap a couple at a time.
Yeah. Well, this guy, it was sort of like that, if I remember right. And the trap had one way in, and then he would get like, I mean, there was pretty many in the traps, though. I mean, I think they had like at least 10 of them in the trap.
Yeah.
And then he'd cart them away, and then.
I know they're always happy about getting piglets.
I think he had to move the traps a lot too. You can't just keep it in the same spot all the time, because I think they get smart to it after a while.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the hard part, because they're actually pretty smart. So it's not just like going out there and killing a dumb animal.
Yeah,
you actually have to be smart about it too.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty funny. Well, do you got any other things for today?
No, that's it. That is our Animal Cracker special.
Animal Cracker special. All right. Well, guys. If you are watching this and want to contact us, just make sure you send us an email, thetheory@maximpactkarate.com. If you're watching this at a place where you can comment, you can feel free to comment, and we'll see you in the next episode.
And welcome back, guys, to the continuation of our 2-part episode.